Hey guys, this is Wally. Hi, I'm a vampire. Um, I just got back from just kind of a long day, but a good day. Today's my day off, and I got the coffee. I did a episode earlier riding my bike. I got caught in the rain. It's been raining on and off, and but like I've been handling it really well. So like since this is a therapy video, but also the series is to educate people and to help people, try to bring people together and to eventually try to fundraise for positive awareness and for people to get along. Um, I'm going to talk about some things that I thought about on my way home. So, but first, again, this is therapy for me, so I like to talk about a few things that I think is good for me to talk about. Today at the library, I listened to classical music. I haven't done that in a long time, and I had a few moments. It was like very peaceful, like actual peace, um, which is like I felt it. I was like, "What is this? This is peace. This is calm. This is really nice." And I can, I can tell that it's because of these videos. It's because of this therapy I'm talking and the positive things that I'm doing, and I feel that in my soul, and I can see the result of that by being able to enjoy things and do certain things, like be peaceful instead of instead of being just kind of like feeling like I'm out in the rain, so to speak, in the storm. So one of the things, I really don't like storms. They have a strong negative effect on me mentally. Stress me out a lot. I get like panic attacks sometimes. I had a traumatic episode. I was in the military for a little bit. I was in for about 8 months. I was in the Air Force, and there was a moment. Long story short, I got caught in a storm, and I was trying to help somebody, one of my buddies, and the the shelter was like being blown away that we were inside of, and it was really scary. And it was one of those moments where I'm just like absolutely terrified. So yeah, it's a lot for me. I do get panic attacks sometimes, but they're not. I'm like very, 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 very prepared when, because obviously, like I can see when a storm's coming. There's lightning and stuff like that, thunder. That's when I really, put my guard up, so to speak, so that I can, get through it. So, yeah, there's that. Um, I also wanted to talk about a few things, and some of these things I feel like I've never talked about, and it has to do with like, and I'm gonna be really careful saying this, very 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 careful saying this, but I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it like in a therapy setting. I'm gonna say it in a raw setting, and I'm not gonna go too far into details about it, but um, so I'll just say it. I do not drink blood. I do not do that. Um, Super awkward pause, but I do not do that. And um, yeah, this is definitely a therapy moment. Um, I knew I was gonna have a hard time talking about this, so I kind of just like rushed into it. I knew that's kind of what I needed to do. It's been many many years, probably over 5 years. I was thinking about that since I've drank blood. Um, it is I've looked up the laws. Um, as far as legality of it, there are rules and legal things about it, um, but it doesn't make it right, and it doesn't make it ethical, and doesn't make it moral, and I think it's wrong. yeah, hard for me to talk about. Uh, but I think it's necessary again for what I'm talking about, for this channel, for for a lot of reasons. Um, yeah, you know, and this is me just kind of through therapy talking. I'm kind of a little bit lost for words, but I've been told by um, another person, another vampire, that you can't go without blood. You can't go without it. And part of me, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was God, my higher power. I don't know. But something inside of me said, yes, I can. And I did. There was a period of time where I was doing drugs, different kinds of drugs, primarily drinking alcohol. And I got into a lot of trouble. Um, but I quit that. Like I said, I don't do drugs, I don't drink. It's I've been sober for over 2 years. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of mental, um, not so much strength, but experience, mentorship, therapy, education, but also mental strength, understandings of how I work, how my body works, and it takes a lot of patience. And during recovery, I was very susceptible to, at times, susceptible to suggestion from people. And sometimes that could, it's difficult to know when to raise your guard, so to speak, and when to lower your guard and listen. And sometimes it's just taking chances in appropriate settings with people who may not always mean well to you, because people are not perfect. But when you feel like a person's an experienced, educated, and kind, and they're in a good mood, sure, listen to them. That's kind of my motto, when I'm trying to play it safe. Uh, but yeah, um, it feels good to talk about this stuff. And it feels good to share, and it also feels good to not being hiding about things, especially when I'm not doing something wrong. Uh, should I say, doing the absence of wrong and the absence of bad need not to be hidden. I don't know. That sounded kind of poetic, but I was writing poetry today. Actually, I was writing. I was listening to classical music, writing some poetry. it's it sounds kind of silly, but no. I mean, I enjoy it, especially when I'm feeling peaceful. So yeah. Um, Another thing I wanted to talk about was two things, and they're both related to beauty, related to looks, and how people treat you based off your looks. Generally speaking, um, if you look good, people tend to treat you nice. I've noticed that. And it's difficult because I look younger than I am. And people who look a certain age, or certain, people tend to naturally, judge them and their abilities based off of what they see or what they understand or what they believe. But I am a complicated person. I'm not. Um, and this is one thing. It's almost like I want to like this next thing I'm about to say is almost like an apology, but it's also an observation and a statement. I myself as who I am, not just what I am, but me, Wally Wallace. I'm an individual, and my who I am and how my brain works. You know, it, I think it's unique. And when what bothers me is when a person makes an assumption about me and then they take an action, and then the action that I take in response, maybe it's no action, isn't what they expect. Or maybe it is what they expect. They want me to. Sometimes it doesn't involve me at all. Maybe I'm just present in the moment, and this is happening. What I'm trying to say is I'm susceptible to feeling bad. Like, I realize that I'm trying to do right, especially in situations. To me, what that means is that people are happy, you know, and I realize that, in most moments, let me say this. So basically, something happened today, and I won't go into much details, but I didn't think very much of it. But I felt a feeling inside of me. And the feeling was one of, like, and this is possibly, it has to do with this therapy, I think, and this is why I'm bringing it up, is that I think I'm kind of unlocking some, like, feelings of the past. I think the first thing that comes to my mind is survivor's guilt, like guilt of surviving. And I don't know why I thought of that, but it just came to mind. I don't think a person, like, obviously I need to do. It's difficult for me to talk about, but clearly feeling bad and feeling guilt is not pleasant. I almost want to justify feeling it though, and that kind of scares me a little bit because part of me wants to justify to say I have guilt and I deserve to have that guilt. And I ask myself, well, because I'm alive, why should I have guilt for being alive? So that definitely is something that I would like to, um, for myself, understand more. But another thing I wanted to talk about was that I thought about today was how do I want to be treated? How 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 do vampires want to be treated? How do nice vampires? And like, I thought about this too. Well, a nice vampire is just like a nice person. There's people who are bad or people who do bad things, and to me, there's no real difference in that regard. But to someone who's a nice person, how would a nice vampire like to be treated? I think it's pretty simple, with respect, with kindness, with kindness. Clearly, a person who is on their own or suffering would want kindness. Um, but besides that, clearly my lifestyle It's pretty solitary. There's a lot of suffering and enduring things so that I may grow. Um, I feel guilt for people who love me, who see me suffer and sorrow, and they feel some pain for how they feel about me. But the thing is, I see myself as an artist. I really do, but also as a person who is growing, and I hope to be more at peace. And I do put in an effort to not be sad or a bummer, especially when I'm working with people or in part of a team or if I'm around family. I do enjoy it. So I let that kindness and that happiness out. So, yeah. These things are very personal to me, deeply personal. Some of these things that I shared, and I'm doing it for myself, for therapy, like I said, for this channel, to spread positive awareness. So, positive awareness of vampires. And hopefully, people can better understand. And like I said, be together. So thank you. And that's it. All right. Thanks, y'all. Have a good night. Bye.